It's important to question whether films you view are political in any way. Film is one of the main sources of propaganda, often politically informed. Propaganda is a term describing a deliberate strategy to influence and control our thoughts. Many theorists analyse the extent to which this is true. Mike Wayne argues that all films are political, but not political in the same way, whereas Ian Scott disagrees, saying that not all films are political, but they are all ideological. Ideology refers to a shared way of thinking and ideas influenced by the cultural setting and are the dominant beliefs in society. Films often conform to or challenge dominant ideologies. However, just because films are ideological, does this mean that they are always political? John Carpenter's 1988 They Live is a highly political film, described by Slavoj Zizek as a neglected masterpiece of the Hollywood left and a critique of ideology. This sci-fi thriller raises themes of control and surveillance and follows financially struggling, employment-seeking John Nada. He finds a parcel containing a bulk of sunglasses and upon trying them, he sees, in black and white, commercial objects like magazines, billboards and money, which are blank with a bold word on, including obey, watch TV, consume, sleep, and this is your God. Nada also sees some people for what they are, aliens with no eyelids, lips, and decaying flesh, who are the ruling class on a society built on capitalism. This plot serves as a Marxist visual metaphor to show how the ruling class give people a false sense of reality to control and manipulate them. It creates a false consciousness amongst the masses so people don't question dominant ideologies, allowing the ruling class ultimate power. The Order, Watch TV is interesting as it portrays how people are unconsciously exposing themselves to propaganda. Purchasing products is designed to make them happy and therefore stay asleep and obey. Reagan's America in the 80s is known for the rising of commercial capitalism, so by Carpenter rejecting dominant Western ideologies of capitalism in a metaphorical way, it's clear that the film is making a political statement. However, despite being a politically left-wing film, it can be argued that They Live falls under First Cinema. First Cinema's aim is to make money through escapism and entertainment, and often conforms to dominant ideologies, but not always. The political messages in They Live can be easily washed away by the intense action, drama and plot of the film. It has every feature that Wayne identifies in First Cinema: strong closure, a male hero, and continuity editing. The last 20 minutes of the film is Nada and his crew shooting and killing the aliens. The film is so distant from reality through its sci-fi elements that a passive spectator may not see the messages. Komoli and Narboni would identify They Live as a political bourgeois film, as it has explicitly political content yet uses the commercial Hollywood style, which they argue does not effectively critique the ideological system as it adopts its language and imagery. However, bourgeois films can be more effective at spreading its political message, as it will probably reach a higher number of people opposed to an independent political film due to the entertainment and commercial factor. So, despite They Live belonging to First Cinema, it's still effective in critiquing ideology. Another interesting example of a film making a political statement is Haifa al-Mansour's Wajda, the first film to be shot entirely in Saudi Arabia in 2012. The film follows 10-year-old Wajda's simple desire to own a bicycle. This may not seem political in a Western society, but in some religious Middle Eastern countries, a female riding a bicycle is forbidden. Mahdi observes how American feminists adopted the bicycle as an icon of disruption that challenged masculine hegemony, and this is reflected in Wajda, serving as the girl's rejection to ideological state apparatuses outlined by Louis Althusser. The bike rejects several of these, including religious, educational, family, political, and cultural ideological state apparatuses. However, all of these link back to religion, which influences and supports the patriarchy, making women a tool for domestic work and producing children. So, Mansour is criticizing religion subliminally. Shantay observes that under repressive regimes wherein religion criticism is censored, filmmakers rely on symbolism to express resistance. But how does this influence the type of cinema the film falls in? It can potentially fall into second or third cinema. MacDonald depicts second cinema as being made by authors with a single definition. The bandit figure is associated with second cinema, described by Wayne as a figure of utopian revolt, and Wajda slightly conforms to this. But I argue that the film falls into third cinema, described by Wayne as a dedicated political cinema due to the film's documentary style and symbolic political messages. Most of the rejection to ideology is shown through the education system. Principal Ms. Hazza only teaches the girls the Quran, how to be future wives, and conduct themselves in public, seen when she warns them not to laugh loudly as their voices shouldn't be heard by men in public. Even after Wajda's commitment to learn a section of the Quran to win money to buy a bike, Miss Hazza forces her to donate the money to Palestine. Therefore, when Wajda gets her bike at the end of the film, it represents her defeat of societal ideologies. However, Mahdi argues that the film is ineffective in critiquing repressive state apparatus that enforce patriarchy like the government, as the film only critiques private aspects of society. Mahdi argues another issue that the film's message could be easily dismissed as another example of works produced to satisfy a curious Western gaze. This film has no doubt wonderfully highlighted the gender inequalities in Saudi Arabia. However, I agree with Mahdi. It's not changed anything despite being a political third cinema film. I argue that Carpenter's They Live is more successful in challenging dominant ideologies despite being a mainstream first cinema film. This may be a film about feminism, but it's this aspect that makes the film political. All films are certainly ideological, and ideology always links back to politics in some regard. Therefore, I argue that all films are political.